Took a break to clean that grease off. Now we need to get the rest of the base off of this machine. So, got a couple of large screws here that hold this front leg of the free arm on. And then there's a screw hiding here, and this is underneath the pivot, so you have to remove the pivot in order to get the base off of this machine. Yep, it's 3 small screws and 2 big ones, and then I'll lift the body up so that these rubber pieces here come out. There's a lot of stuff in the bottom of this base, so I'll be cleaning that out. And I'll vacuum this up, but that gives us, in the middle here, the motor, which is buried way down deep between the 2 halves of the machine. And then we've got this side, that's the drive for the looper on the 2-thread serger side. Yeah. So I'm going to grab my vacuum and clean all this out. There does not appear to be any of that lithium grease on this looper drive though, so that's good. Going through to lubricate this. I need to remember to wear my gloves. My hands will break out if I spend too much time getting them covered in goop. So I'm going to apply fresh grease to this gear that I cleaned all the old grease off of, and get a dab of grease behind the fork for the feed here. This is the lift and lower for the feed dot as it goes. And then there was a little bit of grease on this cam here. So we got a little grease on that. And we've got the gears on the other side for the lower part of the serger, but when I turn the hand wheel, it doesn't move because I have to shift it into surging mode. We'll get our oil on both ends of this shaft and a dab of oil on all the sewing machine parts, and a single drop of oil in the end of the motor, and I'll reach in and get a single drop in the other end here when I'm looking from the other side, but right now this is not facing the correct way. So, alright. And then I did reread the instructions on the top lid, and it said you have to push the hand wheel in while you shift to the serger. And now the serger side is moving. So I can get a drop of oil here and on the shaft there. And then there's a pivot here and a slide. And the differential feed block and everything else I see that moves a teeny bit when I turn. That. And then I'm going to take and apply a little bit of grease. Teeny bit of fresh grease on our looper drive gear here. And then I can hold the hand wheel in, rotate to shift back. So that was the issue. Didn't read the instructions carefully enough for making the shift. So now that the whole bottom side appears to be, or is all lubricated, I'm going to put the main cover back on the bottom. And then we'll move on to cleaning the pivot. Since I've got these two large screws for the free arm foot, I get those in first. That typically gets me a little more, gives me some place to grab onto to help move things around a little bit so that I can lift and tip the machine a bit. And all three of the little screws were short ones. There are some longer ones that were in other covers. And the ones that held the pivot plate, the swivel plate underneath, those were plastic self-tapping screws. So all right, I'm going to set this aside and take care of that pivot now.